I am back with another journal ecosystem video. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cynthia from the Mission Field Home, and today we're gonna be talking planners. Now, I know you guys recently saw a planner video from me for Vlogmas, but I have since then added 2 more journals to my lineup. I thought I was set on what I needed and wanted for 2026, but after really thinking about it and just getting into my journals, because I did get into my journals at the end of 2025, I realized, wait a minute, I need something extra. And that happened to me twice, which is why I have now added 2 more journals to my lineup. But I'm just gonna recap real quick a couple of the planners or the journals that I had when I first made my first journal ecosystem video. I'm not gonna do many flip throughs, even though really there's not much to flip through because it's still the beginning of the year. But I guess I can talk about a little bit of how I'm using each journal as of now. So the first one I have is my reading journal. I shared this one with you guys before. It's just a Sterling Ink B6 Slim grid journal. I have some stuff in it, but it's just grid paper. And I'm using this, like I said, as a reading journal. So I used to have a fancy, I don't want to say really fancy, but I used to have a more creative journal a couple years ago where I would do different type of spreads and just keep track of like more bookish things that I wanted to keep track of. And now I am just using it as a book to write down my reviews. Like, for example, this is from this year, the books that I have read so far, and I'll just put what book number or book review number I have. And then I like to keep track of like how many pages, the format that I read, the genre, when that book was released, when I read it, and then any triggers. And then I'll write down like a sentence or 2 of what I thought of the book. So yeah, nothing extra creative or anything like that. I just do this because I like to keep track of the books that I read. And this is a pretty chunky one. I think this is like the 520 page notebook. So I know that I'm gonna have this one for a while. The next 2 are planners, which again, these were in my last video too, but I have Sterling Ink, which I have one more Sterling Ink to show you, but Sterling Ink has literally become one of my favorite stationery companies. They have amazing products and their paper quality is amazing. But I have 2 planners from them. This one is my homeschool / home management planner. And I use like the front pages for home management, and then the back pages I use for homeschool tracking and like project planning and anything else that I wanna jot down. But this is, I mean, pretty straightforward. I do want to give you guys a flip through of how I use this because there's so many videos out there for Sterling Ink and how everyone is using their planners. But I think that because I use this for both home and homeschool, I do use it a little bit different than what most people use it. Then I have a compact planner from Sterling Ink. So this is the first one. This one is 520 pages. And then this one is the more compact one. But I'm using this one as a content planner just because for 2026, I do plan on going a little bit deeper and just really building my brand, if you want to call it that. But the Mission Field Home blog, I'm really trying to build on that this year and just really focus and put more of my energy and my skills to that side of content creating versus YouTube and social media. But yeah, so those are my 2 planners, and these are the only planners that I have. I don't think I can do like any extra planners. It's already hard keeping up with 2 planners, so I can't imagine myself with more planners. But then I have Sterling Ink again, a 5-year journal. And this is like their original 5-year journals because now she has hardcover ones, and I don't know if she still offers the soft cover ones, but I really like this. This is my 2nd year in this journal, and it's just looks like this. I love this because it's very flexible, because yeah, there are dates at the top. So you'll see like there is a date there, but there's no year on the sides. So you get to, like, if you want to not journal for a whole year and go back to it 2 years later, you can do that without having to like cross out a year or redo the year. So what I did for this year, because I know that I'm going to be using this journal for the next 4 years, I went through, and I'm doing this really as I journal each day, but I've gone through and I've written down the dates, or not the dates, the year, just because now that I'm in my second year, I can tell, yeah, I'm gonna need a little bit more, I need to divide the sections a little bit better, just because their lines are like very, very light. So it's not like dark lines that divide each year. But yeah, I really, really do love how this has been going for me. I use the regular pages, the daily pages, as like memory keepers. When I don't have like anything memorable for that day, I like to just write scripture. And this is gonna be something that I give to my kids when they are older. In the back, I kind of fell off of this for a little bit, and I do need to catch up. But the last month that I did this was in October of last year. And I just like to print out pictures of like everything that happened that month. And I like to just glue it in there. There's been times where I do write and like explain what we did. But for the most part, I don't, because you can tell that like I started putting more pictures than what I started with. So yeah, this is my 5-year journal. This is definitely something I will keep going for a couple of years. Then I have my regular, I want to call it creative journal, but I want to call it my everything journal. I also want to call it my diary. This is literally where I put like the good stuff. I downgraded in sizes for 2026 just because there were days where I felt like I had a B5 before, and a B5 is like 2 A5s together. So if you put like an A5 and an A5, this is a B5. But I had a B5 for like the last year and a half, and I was obsessed with it because it was really chunky as well. But I felt like on days that I didn't have a lot to write, I forced myself to write, and I ended up not enjoying every single day of journaling because it was just, I don't know, I can't see a blank page or a half-written page. And it was just, I decided to go ahead and go into A5, which for the most part, I think all of my life, I've always done A5 journals. But for a reading journal, a couple years ago, I did a B5 and I fell in love with the size. But now, I don't know, my journaling style has changed, and I've kind of figured out what I like to do when I'm journaling. So an A5 is what I chose. And this is just a cheap notebook that I got from Amazon. I believe the brand is Emshoy, which is one of like my favorite journal brands from Amazon. Anytime I get a journal from Amazon, I get the Emshoy journals, which is like a Lotrum, whatever the name is, a dupe for them. I guess if you want to call it a dupe, I don't know. But it's a really good journal brand. And it is grid. Now, I was never a grid journal type of girl until I got into Sterling ink, and now I love grid. I do have one notebook in here that is not grid, it's ruled. And I'm on the fence about it, but I already started it, so I know that I'm not going to change it. But I wish I would have gotten that one grid as well. But anyways, so yeah, my 2026 journal. The way that I'm using this, like I said, this is like kind of like my creative journal. And like this is a spread I did. This is kind of like my vision board, if you want to call it that. But I have pages like this. I also have pages like this where I'm writing. These are just my goals for 2026. Then we have pages like this where I'm writing, pages like this where I tip things in. This was from a trip that we took for our anniversary. Yeah, and then I like to write. That's mostly what I use this for. But it's literally my everything journal. I use it for creativity when I want to be creative. I do my just regular diary entries. And yes, that includes whenever I'm frustrated or upset, whenever I'm going through the motions, it all goes in here. I don't have a separate notebook for when I'm frustrated or angry or whatever it is, just because I feel like part of life is going through the ups and downs of your emotions, of everything going on around you. And I just like to document everything in one place. I do like to look back every so often, and I like to see what God has done in my life, or depending on how, what I journaled or how I was feeling when I was journaling, I like to see like things progress. There's been journals that I look back on today, and I just get amazed with how much God changed my heart in a lot of things. I get amazed with how I literally am witnessing now how God provided for my family for so many years as a family of, one income. And I documented that. I documented the stresses of being a single income family. And I documented how God provided for us being a single income family. And so, yeah, I just like to look back on, whatever it was that I was feeling. I don't like to just write it down and then throw it out. I like to keep track of that because I always like to reminisce on how God has been good in our lives. And I think that's very important to do. So yeah, so I keep everything in just one journal. And I'm also not the type of person to switch into a new journal every single year. So like the last journal that I had it for a year and a half. And that's because it wasn't filled yet. Towards the end of 2025, yes, I got a little bit bored because that's when I started like kind of forcing myself to fill up a whole page. And that's when I said, starting 2026, I'm going into a new journal, even if I had not finished that one. But yeah, as soon as I finish this, I will just move into a new journal. Doesn't matter if it's the new year or not. Now, into the two journals that I added, I have two journals here, and these are both from that same brand, Shoy. And the first one I added, I'm gonna go with this one. The first one I added was, I wanna call it a faith journal, but it's just like my God time journal. And I'm just writing whatever comes to mind whenever I have time with the Lord. I'll put like Bible verses, a prayer, just my thoughts on a specific scripture that I read that morning. And I also want to start putting my sermon notes in here. I debated whether or not I wanted to get a whole separate notebook for sermon notes, because at one point in 2025, I did keep my sermon notes in my everything planner, and I would have it in just the notes pages in the back. But I did not really enjoy doing that because I didn't go back to read my notes. And even though I use my planner every single day, I feel like having anything that has to do with just Bible study, scripture, morning devotional, sermon notes, anything like that, I'd rather have it in one spot where I know I can flip through and just go read back on my notes. And so I added this one. And like I said, this is ruled, so it is lined, which I'm not a big fan of anymore, but I'm okay. It is what it is. It's not the end of the world. I've still been using it. I've been reading in the book of Proverbs this month, and I'm just going through slowly studying the book of Proverbs, which I've done before, but I feel like the book of Proverbs is just such a profound book of the Bible that I can read it over and over again and still get some refreshing insight. Okay, next one, and the very last one I have, is a Commonplace notebook. Now, I realized I was using just a random notebook as a Commonplace journal or notebook. And I would always just throw those notebooks out eventually. And I decided, you know what? Why throw it out when I can just keep it and have it as, I don't want to say memory keeper, but just have it if I ever want to reference back to it. And I don't have much in it, but I did start writing a couple of things that I wanted to have in there. I did buy these little dot stickers. so that I could just know what it is that I am writing about. And then each color has a different category or topic that I will be writing about. So yeah, this is my journal ecosystem, my official journal ecosystem for 2026 as of now. It can change. Most likely it won't. I'm the type of girl that I will literally stick to whatever I have until it's not working. And for the most part, I don't planner hop or journal hop. Like, I stick to what I have. One, because I like to save money. Two, because I don't know, once I fall in love with something, it just sticks. So yeah, journal ecosystem for 2026. My kids are upstairs playing. Let me know what journals and planners you guys are using for this year. Let me know if you're using anything similar to my personal lineup. So are you using reading journal, planners, creative everything diary, faith notes, and commonplace journal? Let me know what you're using. I'd love to know. If you made it to the very end of this video, make sure to leave me your favorite emoji along with an open book so that I know that you watched the entire thing. I thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being here, supporting my channel. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.